Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 6, Book 61, number 548. Narrated by Sa'al bin Sa'd. A lady came to Allah's Apostle and said, "O Allah's Apostle, I have come to you to offer myself to you." He raised his eyes and looked at her and then lowered his head. When the lady saw that he did not make any decision, she sat down. On that, a man from his companions got up and said, "O Allah's Apostle, if you are not in need of this woman, then marry her to me." Allah's Apostle said, "Do you have anything to offer her?" He replied, "No, by Allah, O Allah's Apostle." The Prophet said to him, "Go to your family and see if you can find something." The man went and returned, saying, "No, by Allah, O Allah's Apostle, I have not found anything." The Prophet said, "Try to find something, even if it is an iron ring." He went again and returned, saying, "No, by Allah, O Allah's Apostle, not even an iron ring, but I have this waist sheet of mine." The man had no upper garment, so he intended to give her half his waist sheet. So Allah's Apostle said, "What would she do with your waist sheet? If you wear it, she will have nothing of it over her body. And if she wears it, you will have nothing over your body." So that man sat for a long period and then got up. And Allah's Apostle saw him going away, so he ordered somebody to call him. When he came, the Prophet asked him, "How much of the Qur'an do you know?" He replied, "I know such surat and such surat and such surat," and went on counting it. The Prophet asked him, "Can you recite it by heart?" He replied, "Yes." The Prophet said, "Go, I have married this lady to you for the amount of the Qur'an you know by heart." Volume 6, Book 61, number 549. Narrated by Ibn Umar. Allah's Apostle said, "The example of the person who knows the Qur'an by heart is like the owner of tied camels. If he keeps them tied, he will control them, but if he releases them, they will run away." Volume 6, Book 61, number 550. Narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet said, "It is a bad thing that some of you say, 'I have forgotten such and such verse of the Qur'an,' for indeed, he has been caused, by Allah, to forget it. So you must keep on reciting the Qur'an because it escapes from the hearts of men faster than camel do." Volume 6, Book 61, number 551. Narrated by Abdullah. I heard the Prophet saying, as above, number 550. Volume 6, Book 61, number 552. Narrated by Abu Musa. The Prophet said, "Keep on reciting the Qur'an, for, by him in whose hand my life is, Qur'an runs away, is forgotten, faster than camels that are released from their tying ropes." Volume 6, Book 61, number 553. Narrated by Abdullah bin Mughaffal. I saw Allah's Apostle reciting Surat al-Fath on his she-camel on the day of the conquest of Mecca. Volume 6, Book 61, number 554. Narrated by Said bin Jubair. Those surahs which you people call the Mufassal, are the Mukam. And Ibn Abbas said, Allah's Apostle died when I was a boy of 10 years, and I had learnt the Mukam of the Qur'an. Volume 6, Book 61, number 555. Narrated by Said bin Jubair. Ibn Abbas said, I have learnt all the Mukam surahs during the lifetime of Allah's Apostle. I said to him, what is meant by the Mukam? He replied, the Mufassal. Volume 6, Book 61, number 556. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet heard a man reciting the Qur'an in the mosque and said, May Allah bestow His mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verses of such a surah. Volume 6, Book 61, number 557. Narrated by Hisham. The same hadith, adding, which I missed, modifying the verses. Volume 6, Book 61, number 558. Narrated by Aisha. Allah's Apostle heard a man reciting the Qur'an at night, and said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verses of such and such surahs, which I was caused to forget." Volume 6, Book 61, number 559. Narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet said, "Why does any one of the people say, 'I have forgotten such and such verses of the Qur'an'? He, in fact, is caused, by Allah, to forget." Volume 6, Book 61, number 560. Narrated by Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari. The Prophet said, "If one recites the last two verses of Surat al-Baqarah at night, it is sufficient for him, for that night." Volume 6, Book 61, number 561. Narrated by Umar bin Khattab. I heard Hisham bin Hakim bin Hizam reciting Surat al-Furqan during the lifetime of Allah's Apostle, and I listened to his recitation and noticed that he recited it in several ways which Allah's Apostle had not taught me. So I was on the point of attacking him in the prayer, but I waited till he finished his prayer, and then I seized him by the collar and said, "Who taught you this surah which I have heard you reciting?" He replied, "Allah's Apostle taught it to me." I said, "You are telling a lie. By Allah, Allah's Apostle taught me, in a different way, this very surah which I have heard you reciting." So I took him, leading him to Allah's Apostle, and said, "O Allah's Apostle, I heard this person reciting Surat al-Furqan in a way that you did not teach me, and you have taught me Surat al-Furqan." The Prophet said, "O Hisham, recite." So he recited in the same way as I heard him recite it before. On that Allah's Apostle said, "It was revealed to be recited in this way." Then Allah's Apostle said, "Recite, O Umar." So I recited it as he had taught me. Allah's Apostle then said, "It was revealed to be recited in this way." Allah, Apostle added, "The Qur'an has been revealed to be recited in several different ways, so recite of it that which is easier for you." Volume 6, Book 61, number 562. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet heard a reciter reciting the Qur'an in the mosque at night. The Prophet said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verses of such and such surahs, which I missed." Volume 6, Book 61, number 563. Narrated by Abu Wa'il. We went to Abdullah in the morning, and the man said, "Yesterday I recited all the Mufassal surahs." On that, Abdullah said, "That is very quick, and we have the Prophet's recitation. And I remember very well the recitation of those surahs which the Prophet used to recite, and they were 18 surahs from the Mufassal, and 2 surahs from the surahs that start with Ha-Mim." Volume 6, Book 61, number 564. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. Regarding his, Allah's, statement, "Move not your tongue concerning the Qur'an, to make haste therewith." 75.16. And whenever Gabriel descended to Allah's Apostle with the divine inspiration, Allah's Apostle used to move his tongue and lips, and that used to be hard for him, and one could easily recognize that he was being inspired divinely. So Allah revealed the verse which occurs in the surah starting with, "I do swear by the day of resurrection." 75.1, i.e., move not your tongue concerning the Qur'an, to make haste then with. It is for us to collect it in your mind, O Muhammad, and give you the ability to recite it by heart. 75.1617, which means, it is for us to collect it in your mind, and give you the ability to recite it by heart. And when we have recited it to you, O Muhammad, through Gabriel then follow you its recital. 75.18 means, when we reveal it, the Qur'an, to you, listen to it. For then, it is for us to explain it and make it clear to you. 75.19, i.e. it is up to us to explain it through your tongue. So, when Gabriel came to him, Allah's apostle would listen to him attentively, and as soon as Gabriel left, he would recite the revelations, as Allah had promised him.